5 books, published more than 20 research papers and articles. He has delivered more than 15 invited talks, and he is a recipient of GTU Pedagogical Innovation Award in the 2017. And he is also co-author of Active Learning book as per GTU syllabus, and Standard 12th English medium book, and he has delivered many BISAC lectures, and he will discuss concept of flipped classroom with us. And as we are going with offline classes, so this flipped classroom concept will be quite helpful for us. So let us hope some fruitful outcome from this session as learning all of us. And welcome, Dr. Wasim Qureshi, sir. We welcome you.
Thank you very much. Just a minute. I just
Sure, sir. Sure.
okay. Uh, Good afternoon, all the participants of this FDP on tools and trends in online education system, organized by Government Polytechnic, Palanpur, under Guj Coast. I begin my session with a shlok from the Rigved, Anu Bhadra Kranovo Yantu Vishwatah. Let auspicious thoughts come from all directions. I am very happy to share that I'm one of the session experts who have been from very reputed institutes. So it is a real honor given to me by the organizers. I begin my session with my thanks to the principal, the head of the department, the coordinator, and the coordinating team for inviting me to share my viewpoints on this flipped classroom. I just want to show you one or two slides first, and they will definitely uh, motivate us to discuss because there are two questions. So this is the slide which I kept earlier for everyone to view, right? This is flipped classroom, a teaching approach to enhance students' involvement and discussion, and how it can be done. That is something that we are going to discuss and learn together. I'm Dr. Wasim Qureshi, MA, MAd, MPhil, PhD English. And right now I'm working as an assistant professor in English at Vishwakarma Government Engineering College, Chandkheda, Ahmedabad. Yeah, so this is my, or rather it's a point that we have to discuss. Why flipped classroom is being used, and the reason is there may be some limitations of traditional class, and along with that I put the question number 2, limitations of online and virtual class, right? So with these two questions I just keep the forum open to all participants. I know that this is the session exactly after the lunch, and always the post lunch session is very delicious. હજી પણ ઘણા બધા આપણે મોઢામાં વાગોળતા હોઈશું જે કંઈ ખાધું છે, right? I hope that you have enjoyed your lunch, and I expect that you would definitely enjoy this session as well. So before I comment on the topic given to me, I would like to talk with all of you because I feel that the biggest limitation of online learning or teaching is that it is monotonous because it's in one direction only. I may not view your faces right now, and maybe you would, I hope that you would respond to me. So this is also a limitation, and that's why I always keep my sessions engaging in a way that all the participants, whether they are, there are some senior faculties in the group. I've seen the participants list, and once again, I'm grateful that I'm just conversing with those enlightened faculties from across Gujarat, from government and self-finance institutes. So it will be, reciprocal. I will also learn your wonderful practices of teaching in online method. So I think my question is clear. We just have to talk about limitations of traditional classes, the classes which we engaged earlier to this COVID situation. And after that, we'll discuss about the limitations of online classes. Right now, we are facing it, right? And once again, very soon, we are just moving to offline classes again, right? Maybe we will have dual mode. We will have, both the modes together. So it is up to you. So raise your finger, or you just keep your mic on and share your viewpoints. In one single line, you can introduce yourself, your name, and your place. So first, we'll discuss the limitations of traditional classes. Please, over to you.
Sir, one limitation is time.
Yes, sir.
Sir, one limitation of traditional class is that it is time bound.
Okay. So it is time bound. In offline class, you have to go to your class at 10:30 exactly. But in online class, either you can reschedule it later, or even in your traveling, you are sitting in a bus, but you can go online, right? And you can start giving your lecture if it is online. Okay, so this is what I understand. Jala Sahib, am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other feedback? There are 27, sorry, 39 participants, and many of you are senior to me. I have known some people, they are respected and very senior to me. I just want to share, I just want to converse so that the discussions ahead would go in that direction. You see, we don't have to prove that online learning and teaching is very monotonous because it is always one-sided. There must be two-way communication, and communication is possible if the respondents would give response. Yes. Matin Baki sir, please.
Sir, accessibility of faculties.
Accessibility of faculties. Can you elaborate? Faculties must be accessible, but in traditional class, that accessibility is limited.
Yeah, many students have fear in the classroom to ask some questions if they have some queries.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, now switching to the next question. What are the limitations of online classes? Earlier, COVID, pre-COVID situation, we were not very much used to this online teaching method. There may be some teachers, they were using some blogs and some other online tools. But now it has been a new reality and we accepted it with whole heart and we started working in that direction. But gradually, when we realized that this is not somewhat very effective, once again we came up with a lot of complaints. So will you please give me some ideas about the limitations of this online teaching method?
Sir, accessibility or let us say approaching of faculties
Okay.
by the students.
Okay.
There are only 40 or 45 minutes to approach for doubt or something to ask. Whereas in offline full day or for that particular hours, faculty or teacher is available to solve the doubts or solve the problems.
In online, the teacher is available.
No, in offline. Online
Okay.
teacher is available only for 40 minutes or 45 minutes.
But after that, if there is a query, a student can put that question in Microsoft Teams or in a class, or there may be a
Hmm.
WhatsApp group. So isn't it
Yes.
easy that otherwise the student has to come to my cabin to discuss with me in offline method?
Yes. Yes. But what I thought is that they can contact you within that hours.
Yeah.
And apart from that environment, in the classroom environment will be of teaching, whereas at home.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I do agree. I do agree with that. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you and your participation. I was given feedback about the earlier. I think this is fourth day. Session is the 10th one, right? And I watched some videos on YouTube because after each session, videos are uploaded the channel of that government polytechnic. So I watched some videos. I saw that some faculties are very interactive, and in that way the session becomes interactive. uh, Dear friends, I just want to go ahead with the points. The flipped classroom is a kind of blended learning, right? Or blended teaching. And we know the meaning of to blend, to mix more than two things together. So earlier, when we had offline method, the traditional classroom teaching, some experiments were done by some thoughtful teachers. How can we engage students more in classroom learning? And they came up with that idea that they have to blend two different modes of teaching. One that was uh, that was offline class because the student has to come to the class to attend the session, and then once the student goes home, he or she has to study by her own or his own. Now usually when the student goes home, he or she has to take the help of books, right? Books in printed form in earlier time. Later on, now we have internet, Google, and a lot of electronic gadgets through which students learn. So now the teachers have started doing experimenting by blending two things, offline and online, and that is what a blended learning is. So let me show you some slides regarding blended learning, and we just go on discussing about the things. Yeah. So blended learning is an approach to education that combines online educational materials and opportunities for interaction online with traditional place-based classroom methods. Now, I suppose definition is absolutely clear. It is an approach, right, which combines two things. One is online educational materials. Here we can understand that a teacher does not have to teach, but rather he or she has to provide some support material, right? Later a student can download it. Later a student can go to that particular website. Hello.
Participants are requested to mute your mic.
Okay. So we have to combine two things. One, that is educational material which is available or made available online. And number two, discussion or interaction about the online sessions in the classrooms, right? It requires the physical presence of both teacher and student with some elements of student control over time, place, path, and pace. While students still attend brick and mortar schools with a teacher present, face-to-face classroom practices are combined with computer-mediated activities regarding content and delivery. Right? Like in short, a teacher has to deliver something in the class and some material in terms of assignments, in terms of additional work can be given, and students go to those websites, online resources, either they download or they interact or they write their queries or they try to solve those problems using online material. Once again, when they come back to class, they'll discuss what they have learned. There are many other terms for this blended learning, hybrid learning, because ultimately we do a kind of hybriding two things, online, offline together. Technology mediated instruction. Usually the instructions are given in the classrooms, and instructions means you or I educate students, you or I teach. So teaching is called instruction, right, in education domain. But here that teaching is technology mediated because technology plays a very vital role as a mediator to provide instruction, to provide learning contents to students. Another name is web enhanced instruction. Internet provides a lot of instructions and in that way students learn. And the fourth one is mixed mode because it mixes two modes. One is online, the other one offline. Yeah, there are some advantages of this blended learning. For faculties, there are certain advantages, and for students, obviously, there are certain. Faculties can track and improve the engagement of students. Now, if there is a blended learning, you can identify or I can identify that a certain student does not go online. He does not visit my blog. He does not comment on that discussion forum available online, or a student does not engage in any kind of discussion. So we can track the record of the students, and in that way we will guide the student for improving his engagement. It will definitely enhance communication because when there are two modes, students will be a little bit convenient to communicate in offline mode as well as in online mode. I've seen some examples in my life, in my academic life, that if there is an online communication, students are there who would definitely do that. Because when they come to my office, when they come to your office, that eye contact becomes very difficult. And just because of that, many students prefer not to meet face to face to teachers. There may be a lot of problems. But when there is a written communication, when there is an online communication, when there is an email, when there is a WhatsApp message, usually students feel a little bit convenient. So once again, this is blended learning. So a teacher will see that communication in enhanced. It enables EdTech, education and technology. So once again, this word is a blended word in which education and technology, two words are blended. So for teaching purpose, for educating purpose, we use technology. And when we use both in a proper way, it reduces cost, right? It makes the exercise personalized. We can personalize our own sharing, our own experiences with the students. The end users, the other people, I mean the students at the other end, there are some advantages. It gives peer support, because basically in online discussions, students can identify their supports in their classmates, and in that it will boost their courage to communicate with teachers, to raise the questions, to ask for some confusions and queries. It is easy accessible, and it provides flexibility, because ultimately, if a student is shy to speak up in the classroom, there is an opportunity for that student to to share something online. There are some students who are shy to communicate by writing a message, or in online discussion. They'll come to you, right, either in the classroom or to your cabin, to discuss and to share their ideas. So in that way, it is flexible because it opens up both the modes. It boosts soft skills, definitely, right? So there are many soft skills, convincing skills, interpersonal communication, communication at all, right? Cross-cultural communication, a lot. And in that way, a student feels to communicate, to discuss, right? A lot of things. And in that way, he or she boosts the soft skills. It is for enhanced retention, because we know that with the senses of ears, because usually as a teacher, when I go to my classroom, I speak. My subject is such in which I don't even write a lot of things on the board, because I teach communication skills, I teach English. So we have to deliver, a sermon, a lot of speeches go on in our class. So a student has to sit quietly and listen to us. If there is a one-way communication, the retention goes down. But if I add some activities when I engage my students in my discussion in offline mode even, and along with that, Sonepe Suhaga, if I provide them some online material resources, but they see some animations, some videos, some online quizzes, now that retention is enhanced, right? And in that way, it increased or it increases satisfaction and effectiveness. Once again, we have limitations, because coin has two sides. When I want to promote blended learning, I must be aware of its limitations. And because if I am aware of its limitations, I would be able to minimize those limitations. I put my efforts in such a way that limitations would be minimized, so that the impact of my efforts, impact of my experiments would be higher. Technology can be challenging rather than useful. We always believe that technology is at your fingertip, but there are a lot of limitations regarding technology: bandwidth, internet, network, my gadget not working, you're not audible, you are very much audible, there is some technical glitch. These are very common limitations. I don't know whether they are created ones or they are genuine ones, but these are common, complaints we have always received from our students when we provide online lectures. So this is a limitation. Along with that, when I talk about the internet resources, right? The next word, the point number 3, credibility of sources. And in that way, plagiarism, it becomes a bigger issue. If I take a material from a website without citing its resource, without giving credit to the original author, right? Or if I provide such material to my students, and students will feel that whatever my teacher has given is absolutely correct, and with that belief, if they use the material, right, I have to check the credibility of that source. It makes teachers overwork, obviously. If there is a blended learning, right, we have to be sure that it should not create much burden. So there are some limitations to blended learning. So blended learning was already a concept from very long time, right? And teachers have done their experiments in their own fields, looking at the topics and content. Now later on, not very recent one, but even it has been for a very long time, a new concept comes, and that is flipped classroom, right? Now flipping is something which you change, overturn, અને બદલી નાખવું. પહેલા મારે બોલવું પડે અને પછી મારે આભાર વિધિ કરવી પડે. તેમ કે ના સર, now you have to do vote of thanks first and then you have to teach. So that is called flipping, right? બદલી નાખવું. Now once again, I have some slides first, and I suppose that we'll discuss about flipped classrooms. Let's flip the class. So what is flipped classroom? It is an instructional strategy. It can be an approach, it can be a method, but it is a strategy, and it is an instructional strategy. Once again, we all are aware that instructional means teaching method or teaching strategy. Delivering instructional content outside the classroom and other related activities into the classroom. My dear friends, my dear colleagues, now this is something in a different way. I have to deliver my instructional content outside the class, and then related activities will be done in the classroom. So what I have done is I have flipped my classroom, and I just want to show you a very short video available on internet, but I'll just show it to you right now. It is a wonderful video on flipped classroom.
The flipped classroom is a new method of teaching that is turning the traditional classroom on its
Professor Qureshi, is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll begin it again.
The flipped classroom is a new method of teaching that is turning the traditional classroom on its head. Every day, thousands of teachers deliver the exact same lesson in class to millions of students. Every night, millions of students sit over the exact same homework, trying to figure out how to solve it. The flipped classroom is turning this upside down. Traditionally, students listen to lectures and take tests in class, and read textbooks and work on problem sets at home. In flipped teaching, students first study the topic by themselves, typically using video lessons on YouTube, and then apply the knowledge by solving problems and doing practical work in class. Modern schools who flipped their classroom report many benefits. 1. It allows all students to learn at their own pace, as videos can be watched again. 2. It's more efficient, as students enter the classroom prepared to contribute. 3. It enriches the classroom, as more time can be spent on group work and projects. 4. Doing homework in class allows students to help each other, which benefits both the advanced and less advanced learners. Traditionally, teachers engage most with the confident students who ask questions. Flipping allows teachers to target the students who really need help, instead of just those who are confident. Also, instead of instructing from the front, teachers guide on the side. This allows them to work more closely with individuals or small groups. Teachers that are not great presenters can use third-party videos to explain the concept, and focus on methods of teaching that suit their style, such as project work or experiments. Once video lectures are made available online, teachers don't need to give the same lecture over and over again. Again, they gain more time to focus on the needs of their class. Many scholars also argue that the flipped classroom model promotes equal learning opportunities, as all kids get the same attention when doing their homework. Currently, kids with caring parents, older siblings at home, or expensive private tutors have a clear advantage over those who don't. Let us know what you think. If you were a teacher, tell us if this model would be possible in your classroom. If you were a student, let us know if you would prefer learning in a flipped classroom.
So, dear participants, I hope that the video itself is explanatory, right? It has talked about how usually a flipped classroom can be conducted, right? And why it is important, what are the advantages. Now, I continue with my presentation. So this is the video that we have watched right now. If you want to revisit the video, you can type the flipped classroom model, and it has 3 minutes into it. Now, in 1993, Alison King published a paper, right, from Sage on the Stage to Guide on the Site. Now, see, this is a wonderful rhythmic title. From Sage on the Stage to Guide on the Site. Stage ઉપરના એક સંત ને બદલે સાઈડમાં ઉભેલા એક માર્ગદર્શક તરીકે. So this is something like that, in which she focuses on the importance of the use of class time for the construction of meaning rather than information transmission. So usually when Wasim Qureshi goes to his traditional class, he transmits information to students. But instead of that, if I use the time for the construction of the meaning, and for that I need to transmit information prior to it, right? While not directly illustrating the concept of flipping a classroom, King's work is often cited as an impetus for an inversion to allow for the educational space for active learning. Basically, in that particular paper, she has not mentioned the word flipping, but she suggested that instead of teaching new content in the class, the same can be given earlier so that that information can be used in the classroom to construct the meaning. Harvard professor Eric Mazur, he played a significant role in the development of concepts influencing flipped teaching through the development of an instructional strategy he called peer instruction. And his book entitled Peer Instruction, A User's Manual was published in 1997, in which he called the same method as peer instruction. And that is a very significant book in this particular domain. He found that his approach, which moved information transfer out of the classroom and information assimilation into the classroom, allowed him to coach students in the learning instead of lecturing. Now, this is something, a comparison between traditional versus flipped classroom. Usually in traditional class, we give lectures in 4 walls, right, in physical way. And students would go home and we'll provide them some extra work. We can call it homework, assignment, right? So students will go home and they'll do that activity. And again, when they come back to the class next day, we'll teach. in flipped classroom, lectures are given prior to the classroom situation, right? And for that, we need online resources. So student has to get the content first in online mode at his place with his pace. And then he or she has to come to the classroom where we have to make them engage in some activities. Now, so this is basic concept of flipped classroom. I begin with traditional class. When I go to my class, it happens with me. I don't know whether it happens with other teachers or not. Students basically don't have any idea what this Wasim Qureshi is going to teach today. And if a lecture is there exactly after some other lecture, suppose a mathematics teacher has taken the class, so there may be some equations on the board and students are still, stuck to that particular place. And even though they respect me and they'll say, good morning, sir, good afternoon, sir, but they are lost somewhere in the memory of those mathematical equations. So the very first thing which I observe in my traditional class is that they don't know what I'm going to teach. They may be absolutely blank. And usually what teachers do is they just go to the classroom and they just announce that today we are going to discuss this. They put it on the board or they announce the title before the class. And suddenly a new topic comes into the discussion and it goes on. This is what the methods are being used. Fortunately, I was a teacher educator in my early career. I used to be a professor of education colleges for 6 years, and because I'm MA, BA, BEd and MAd also, and we used to teach the teachers of schools. The very important skills that we used to teach was set induction, Vishaya Abhimukh Karbu, in which the teacher does not announce the topic, right? But rather, students are motivated to go towards the new topic. There are some techniques, some limitations, some advantages, and we called it set induction, Vishaya Bhimukh Karna. So students are absolutely blank, or they have a lot of things in their mind. Suppose after the lunch session, my lecture comes. What would be the reaction of my students? They are still, stuck somewhere. They are lost in some memories. Now I have to bring them to my discussion. I have to bring them to my class mentally. Physically they are, but mentally they are not. And for that, I have to start with some activities, some questions, some discussions, either related to the topic, either the topic that has been done and related to my today's topic. And gradually, I have to motivate my students for this new learning, right? And they'll be able to, they'll be able to respond to me. They'll be able to show that, yes, they are ready to accept new learning from me. In offline class, this happens. Now, students are blank about the topic that I'm going to discuss. Though I'm a good teacher and though I've used other, tactics to provide the content in a very effective manner, I, as a teacher, know my limitations that, I teach well, but I know that my students may not get what I teach. So somehow students have a lot of confusions. They don't know. They may be not present with me in the class. Now the situation will arise that at the end of the class, when I have certain questions for my audience, some students would definitely respond. Some students are absolutely blank. Now what happens? They go home, they open that chapter because an assignment is given or a question is given. Usually in colleges, we don't give daily assignments or daily homework like, school teachers are doing. So students go home, they open the book, they refer the material, and then they realize, oh my God, this is what Wasim Qureshi was teaching, or this is what I understand now, right? So there is a long gap, 1 hour which I have given to my students in the class. Definitely, every moment does not go useless, but there are some moments, there are some learnings, there are some exercises, there are some activities which are not productive. I was busy, I was teaching, but students didn't learn. And what about the engagement? Because the concept is new, it may be difficult, it may be complicated, it may be complex. And being a teacher, because I have to follow my timetable, I have to arrange mid-semester, I have to follow GTU's calendar. So I have to vomit out whatever I have prepared for that lecture. Accepting that I have taken the class, but I am absolutely unaware that students have not understood, or maybe they have understood very less. Then a lot of activities are given, students will go home and they'll do those activities. Now here the situation is reverse. In flipped classroom, what I need to do is I have to provide them material. It can be video, it can be PDF, it can be links of some online resources with instructions when, during which time you have to watch this video, or you have to read that material, or you have to visit that website, and what they have to note down, right? Now, instead of focusing on the theoretical aspect of flipped classroom, I now start how it can be executed. And this is what I have experimented with my classes recently. And that's why I'm sharing. You may improve all these things for your classes and you can share. So in my flipped classroom, what I need to do is I have to provide those learning material. Can be video, can be audio, can be websites, can be PDFs, through any way, so that students will visit, will learn, will get ready with some contents in their mind. And now it is online. Now it is at the fingertip. You have given sufficient time. They can re-watch the same video. They can reread the same PDF. They can do the same experiment again and again. They can visit the website again and again. It is up to them, right? If they understand once, it's fine. They can go twice, thrice, 4 times. But before they come to my class, they have to be ready with those stuff. What I need to do in my class. Now, this is something that we have to discuss, and this is something that we have to decide about. So once again, I suppose that I need to show you one slide, and then we'll go to our discussion again. Yes. So this is traditional and flipped classroom tips for execution, right? For videos, online materials, for classroom engagements, and for extension work or assignments. Okay. So this is my discussion time. Now in online material, right? What we can do is we have to provide videos. Suppose I am going one elaborated point, and for that I need at least 5 lectures or 3 lectures. Suppose we can take 3 lectures. For 3 lectures in a graded way, I will prepare videos. In the video which I have shown and I've shared earlier, it is said that you can use third-party videos, right? If I'm not able to prepare my own videos, I can take the videos which are already available. But my suggestion is better Wasim Qureshi prepares his own videos. Reason number 1, if my students watch my own videos, they will definitely respect my exercise. They'll feel that this is not, usually what happens, a teacher does not want to teach, so they can provide a lot of online materials, or they share a lot of videos online on Microsoft Teams. Teacher is happy because the teacher has to work nothing, and students are happy because they don't have to communicate with the teacher. But students know that these are ready-made materials available online and the teacher does not want to interact with them. So, all the things are given in that way. So what I have to do or what I did, I prepared my own videos. Videos in which my face is visual, or I use the PPT and I run the PPT, or in any way, if there is an experiment, you can add your voice, you can show the experiment. So videos should be made. They must be put online somewhere. If we have departmental YouTube channel, or if you have or I have my individual YouTube channel, I can put them there. If there is an institute platform, we can put there also. The the duration of the video must be short, because usually the retention goes in a different direction once it has more time. So I'll come to that point when I will talk about my experiment. So 2-3 minute के video, not more than that. Yes. So instead of making 10 minutes video, it is better that we divide the topic into small sub points, and for each sub point, we will prepare at least a 2-minute video or 3 minutes video, not more than 4 minutes. Because I'm going to share that thing in the next slides, because I made a video of 4 minutes. Students viewed it well. They gave good feedback. But similarly, for the same topic, for the continuing topic, I prepared a video of 9 minutes because it was PPT, and I just run the PPT and made a video, uploaded on my YouTube channel, and students watched it because it was a part of the discussion. But when I got the feedback from the students about my experiment, many students wrote down that, sir, there was a video of 9 minutes and we didn't like. So better you would have divided it into 2. I say yes. So this is something which I just want to suggest. Videos must be in graded way. If I have taken unit number 5, the point number 3, and for point number 3, I have prepared 5 videos. I have to say 5.3.1, 5.3.2, 5.3.3, likewise. So students will know what exactly they are supposed to watch and in what sequence, right? In each video, we have to guide our students that now this is the video on this particular sub point, and you are going to learn this. And at the end of the video, once again, we have to show what they are supposed to watch next, right? So, the video should be self-explanatory. It should be in a guiding way, so the students will not get confused. In terms of quality of the video, about the visuals, about the experiments, about the look, about the voice quality, right? So these are certain things which we can keep. Better we prepare our own videos, and obviously we have learned a lot of things. There are so many faculties who have their own videos uploaded on various social media, on YouTube channels, etc. also. Second thing is, in online material, we can provide them PDFs or some learning materials, or at least instructions which students have to follow. That first you have to watch this video. Based on the video, this is the question. Now you have to write down the question answer in your book. And now when they come to my class, right, face to face in classroom situation, we'll discuss about all these answers. So instructions can be given in PDF format. PDF can be provided them either in through email, or once again we have blogs, so we can put it on blog. If there are online platform of the institute or WhatsApp or anyway, right? We can provide them some learning material through websites also. We can suggest some websites. Once again, we have to check as a teacher the credibility, authenticity of the material or the resources. Once again, instead of downloading 10 pages PDF from somewhere, it is better that I prepare my own PDF. Definitely, I have to take the help of various resources. But instead of 10 pages, I have to combine the things which are very important related to my syllabus, looking at the capability of my students into 1 or 2 or 3 pages only. So one way is very easy for me, that I can provide a PDF of Mr. Stephen blah 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 from Oxford University, but it is 10 pages. There may be something or a lot of things which are not related to the syllabus, or it would be beyond the capacity of my students. And particularly when we look at diploma students, right? I used to teach in diploma for 2 years earlier, so I know the capacity of the students. So looking at my own students' capacity, their weaknesses, the limitations, I have to design my PDFs. And when you prepare your own PDF, students know that this is not the ready-made material. For this PPT or this PDF or this Word file, my teacher has taken much pain. Definitely they will respond in very positive way. This is what I have felt, and I'm sharing my experience in that way, right? So better we prepare all these stuff from our side, and we put the things online so that students will learn. Guidelines can be given when they come to my class. The classroom situation, four-walled situation. Right now, it was online also. So after online, they came to my class in online mode. Right, earlier or in future, after learning in online mode, right, as a part of our flipped classroom experiment, they'll come to our classrooms where we have face-to-face teaching. So now what we need to do in classrooms is, we can start with the discussions which they have learned through the online work they are supposed to do. So suppose I have to deliver 100%, better I provide them 60% through online method, right? We can keep 40% for the classroom. Number two, theoretical discussions can be done because theories are taught better in online mode than in our offline method. If Wasim Qureshi teaches a theory of, suppose communication process, right? What I do is, I just go to the board, I draw a diagram on the board, and I'll teach. Now, this is the theory part. Better I put this portion in my online material, and I can either prepare an animation, or if I take a from somewhere, I definitely cite the reference. But students learn the theory of communication process in a very beautiful, attractive manner, right? More senses will be used, right? Ear, eye, mind, lips, and they watch. So theoretical concepts can be given in online method. This is my suggestion. It is up to the content that we decide. And in the classroom, when they come back, we can discuss about their learnings and their queries. Certain time can be given, maybe 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes out of one out of 1 hour can be given to discuss about all these things, right? And now this is time to time for teacher to know whether the students are in the right direction or not, whether the experiment is in a proper way or not. Now the teacher knows what is missing in the learning, right? Suppose as per your plan, all 60% discussion is up to the mark here. You can begin with the 61 point. But if you feel that the students have not understood certain concepts because it comes into query, now this is time to solve the query with the help of the students who have already learned. Now see, the involvement of the students come into the picture, and a student from a corner gets importance, right? A backbencher who knows a little bit would raise the hand and say, sir, I know, let me explain. This is what I understand. So everyone's importance is enhanced, right? But that can be done. Later, in the middle of the class, we can engage students in some problem solving. So the theory is done. Now here there is some practicals in application mode, right? A concept is discussed in the online method prior to the classroom. Now based on that concept, based on that idea, I have certain case studies, I have certain questions, I have certain equations, I have certain problems, and I put them before the class. So they have learned, they have understood, they'll be able to communicate, they'll be able to discuss, and that discussion once again will motivate students to take part in the discussion, right? Here you can be a little bit personalized. If you identify that certain boys or certain students didn't respond during online learning, even in the earlier 10 minutes, they didn't show any kind of learning. They didn't they don't have any query, right? There is something gap, right? So personally, we can either individually or in a pair or in a group help them to understand the concepts, but with the help of the discussions that is going on in the class. So it is compulsory for all to have studied the things prior to the class. Somewhere I have noted down that a teacher has to allow those students in the classroom who have completed the work, right? So it's a kind of a ticket. When a student comes to my class, obviously, if he belongs to mechanical branch, I'll say, oh, are you from mechanical branch, Sem 2? Yes, please come in. If a student from some other branch or some other semester or from some other institute will not be allowed in my class, obviously. In the same way, if a student comes to my class, I have to check. Have you done the task? Yes, sir. Have you watched the videos? Yes, sir. Show me. The student will show me the assignment or the questions that were there in the their answers that were there in the instruction page. And if I'm satisfied, because unless a student has prepared himself well or herself well, he or she would not be able to take part in the discussion well. So that ticket is very important. We have to check the ticket, and if the student has the ticket, we have to, right? And later at the end, once again, the discussion of the new content will come, right? That new content or the remaining part of the discussion in which you feel that you need to communicate, you need to explain, right? This is the time. So that new concept or new ideas or new applications can be discussed in the class by the teacher. Once again, at the end, we can provide them some assignments extension to that learning. Now here you can suggest some ready videos available online, right? Now if you want to improve, now go to this university, you go to that particular page and watch this video. So additional because sometimes you are not going to discuss on those videos. If some queries come from the students regarding the assignments or regarding the links later which you have given to students, obviously we are ready to discuss those things, but it is not a part of your plan. And that's why here we can give more stories, more resources, more links, more videos to watch, and based on that they can write their assignments or they can fill some other things, right? So these are the things which we have to keep in our mind when we execute our flipped classroom. Again, I just want to show you this is the model of flipped classroom. So before the class, a student has to prepare, right? So that preparedness for the lecture is done at the place and pace of a student. It is out of the class. Then the student comes in the class where students are engaged in some activities, and those activities are definitely related to the topics or discussions or learnings, or we can say the queries, and later on, based on the learnings, new content is delivered, and that new content is obviously related to the topics, related to the learnings. So it is in proper sequential manner and in interesting way, so students will be able to enjoy this engagement. And then we have to extend their learning, right? Once again, we have to extend their learning, how they can enhance that understanding, so we can provide them some other material. Now, before I move ahead, I just want to take a short break, and this is not an official break, but it is up to you. If you have any observation regarding the discussions that I have done till now, you can feel free to discuss. You can give your feedback, you can give your queries, you can give your questions, you can give new ideas, right? Still there are some discussion points remaining, but I'll come to those points later. So please, once again, the forum is open to all. Any feedback? Anyone has done any kind of experiment in the field of flipped classroom for any topic? If yes, say yes. If no, no need to say no. Is there anyone from my audience who wants to do such an experiment in future? No need to say no. If yes, you may say yes. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, okay. Because there is no response from anyone, so I thought that there may be some technical glitch from my side. Okay, okay. There is one message, I think. Yes, okay. Yes, sir, regarding my audibility. Okay, thank you very much. Now, let's move to the other points that I need to discuss. And I just want to share some slides regarding my experiment. Why I love this topic? Because my first PhD student at GTU is working in the same area, developing writing skills of the first year students of engineering through flipped classroom. And we are in the process of making a pilot project first, and then so that motivated me to do an experiment by my own, because being a PhD supervisor at GTU and guiding a PhD scholar in the same area, I wanted to have hands-on practice on it. And my experiment with this teaching methodology was done during last semester. In SEM 3, we have one subject called ETC, Effective Technical Communication. And I just so I did a small experiment at the end of the semester in a little hurried way, but I was very much satisfied with the way my students cooperated me with a lot of limitations, but based on that experiment, I plan to execute the same teaching method again in SEM 2 very shortly for my students. Based on that, I made a paper presentation in a virtual conference organized by Vellore Institute of Technology, VIT, Tamil Nadu, during 13-14 November 2020. And very soon they are going to publish all the papers, either in proceedings or in a book. Now, this is something which I just wanted to show, but I think better I show you my screen, so that would be better. Yes. So before I started my experiment, I prepared this kind of instructions, right? Name, subject, blah, blah, blah. My topic was Unit 4, Ethics in Engineering. That is one of the topics that we teach in ETC, Effective Technical Communication. And obviously, I have to motivate my students. So very first sentence is highly motivating. It is indeed great that you have been learning seriously in this pandemic situation. Learning must be more fruitful than teaching, blah, blah, blah. And I gave them all the related instructions, right? I arranged one pre-test prior to sending online material to them, right? And for that pre-test, I had some questions based on the topic that was absolutely unknown to them. And students responded on that day. And based on the topic, I prepared some material for two subpoints, point number 4.3 and 4.4. So there were 4 points, 4.1 and 4.2. They were taught in very natural way, in very traditional way, though it was online. But for 4.3 and 4.4, I flipped my classroom and I did it. For each subpoint, I shared with them 2 instructional PDFs. I'm going to show those things again after some time. And again, after the experiment, after classroom teaching, though it was online, I conducted, post test to check whether there is any improvement. In between, the students have to submit the task sheets, right? Because based on that, I allowed them to my class because it was online. In offline mode, I would definitely going to check their written work in the notebook. And if I'm satisfied that the students have written, that means he or she has visited and learned the things through online material, I would allow. So that was a kind of, ticket which I mentioned earlier, right? And after the entire exercise gets over, I asked them to submit feedback. There were 5 open-ended questions and some, 5 rating scale questions, right? And time was given, date was given. And based on that, the experiment was done. Now, this is the instruction for 4.3, right? Resolving ethical dilemmas. So activity 4.3.1, it was about introduction, dilemma, ethics, and ethical dilemmas in workplace. Watch the video. The link was provided. And duration is also mentioned that it is of 4 minutes 13 seconds. Now, let me show you that video. This is the video.
Your voice is not coming.
Sir, volume is not there.
Yeah, okay. My mistake. Just a minute.
I was waiting participant to respond.
Because I didn't allow the audio of my
Yes.
laptop. Yeah, that's why. That's why. Okay, yes. Wherever you. Hello, friends. Vishwakarma Government Engineering College, Chankheda, Ahmedabad, welcomes you in this session for B Semester 3, Effective Technical Communication, ETC. Subject code is 313004. We are discussing Unit 4, Ethics in Engineering, and this is 4.3, Resolving Ethical Dilemmas. And this video is 4.3.1. I'm Dr. Wasim Qureshi, Assistant Professor in English. I begin with one quote by Earl Warren. He says that in civilized life, law floats in a sea of ethics. Whoever you can be a doctor, an engineer, a teacher, a businessman, or anything. You cannot live without ethics. So basically, ethics seeks to resolve questions of human morality by defining concepts such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue and vice, justice and crime. So, when you mentally make up your mind, yes, so that was the video number 1, 4.3.1, and it will take 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Right now, I don't want to show you the entire video because it's not related to the topic right now, but it was on a topic which I expected my students to watch. And from my institute, let me check, yeah, more than 445, right? 445 students viewed that video during that time, right? And based on that, two questions. Task one, write your answers, write your own definition of ethics, right? So it is open-ended question. I talked about some definitions of ethics in that video, but I wanted them to define the word by their own, and which words were transformed into Latin and French from a Greek word ethikos. Then again, there was another video. So after video 1, students were supposed to watch video number 2. Now here, the video which I prepared was more than 9 minutes. This is what I talked about earlier. Yeah, this is that video. See, 9 minutes and 38 seconds. Vishwakarma Government Engineering College, Chankheda, Ahmedabad welcomes you in this special session for BE Semester 3, Effective Technical Communication, subject code 313004. This is Unit 4, Ethics and Engineering, and we are going to discuss Unit 4, Subpoint 3, that is 4.3, Resolving Ethical Dilemmas. I'm Dr. Wasim Qureshi, Assistant Professor in English, and this is 4.3.2. Dear friends, in the last video, 4.3.1, if you remember, we have talked about the origin of the word ethics. From the root word ethos, it was transferred into ethikos, and then it was transferred into ethica, ethic, and ethics. At workplaces, you must be aware that there are a lot of situations when we feel to be in dilemma or dilemma. And these are ethical dilemmas where you need to take a decision. Sometimes you feel that both the options seem to be correct, and that is a difficult one to select one of them. Leo Tolstoy, a famous Russian writer, writes in his bestseller world classic book, The War and Okay, so once again, after that video, two questions come. They are called task 2. For more learning, I put one case study, right? And based on that case study, I just read after recent collapse of a newly constructed building in which many people died and many more got injured, an engineer came to know about an old bridge which is marginally safe. He informed his superior, who asked him to stay calm and not to discuss with anyone while waiting for the next year budget to get. Now, based on that, once again, task 3, what would your response be and why? Right? So this is something which can be discussed in the class. When they come to my class, I expected them to be ready with their answers, their arguments, what would be their response and why. That was important. Once again, a more case study was given, and based on that, task 4. Submit your tasks 1 to 4 by writing in notebook and posting in blah blah blah. Keep your learning questions, queries, points, discussions in written form ready for the classroom discussions, and you are motivated to be ready for discussing your views in the actual classroom. In the same way, another making moral choices, right? The point number 4.4, I two videos in the same way the videos were given, right? Two more case studies were put so that ethical dilemmas kone kehvai chokraone khabar pade. Mr. Rao went to a government agency to get approval for his program. That program was meant to help the needy and the poor, but the government officer in charge wanted a small gift to get the program approved by superior. There might be the share of the superior also in that gift, right? Now again, consider you are Mr. Rao. What will you do? What would be your response? And when certain questions are given in open-ended form, students come up with a lot of arguments and answers. Many times they are absolutely unexpected from us, but still we can find that yes, they come up with some arguments, they have some questions and whatnot, right? So in that way, uh, a classroom can be done. So usually prior to the class, we can take, if you want to take an exam, experiment, we can take a pre-test, we can give some instructions. Along with the instructions, we have to provide them learning resources. And for those learning resources, we have to prepare them, right? Either we have to edit, or if third-party videos are exactly appropriate for our students, we can provide them accordingly. Otherwise, it is better that we prepare our own videos. As I said earlier, that 4 minutes video is okay with the students, but for one concept, if the video exceeds 9 minutes, at the end of the experiment, during the feedback, students raised this issue. Sir, 9 minute no video bahut lambo lagyo. So better you put it in a shorter way. So this is the way how flipped classroom can be done. I just want to show you last 2-3 slides from my side. So these two PDFs were put down here, but we have already discussed, right? And based on that, the 4 videos, out of these I have shown you 2 videos. There are 2 more videos. 4 case studies were discussed, and all these things carry some questions or situations to ponder over, right? Because based on the video or based on the case study, students have to respond and they have to write their answers. And when they came to my class, obviously online, because it was a post-COVID situation, they had some discussion about the learning. In some classes, when I had students a little bit shy and introvert, I didn't get that much discussion from the students, but in some classes like computers and IT, we had wonderful interaction from the students. But I feel that if the students come in offline mode in traditional classroom, definitely we can provide them, I mean, we will have that interaction well. I asked them about the success of this experiment. So I had 5 divisions: power electronics, computer G, computer H. There are 2 divisions of computer, civil and IT. We had 365 students, but out of them 216 gave their feedback. Uh, these are the numbers. Almost 110 students out of 216 gave 4 points, right? And 69 gave 5. So 83% students gave 4 or 5. 2% students gave 1 and 2, and 15 gave 3. There is one small video. Once again, I expect everyone to watch the video, and then we will have question answer session, your feedback. Once again, it is about the introduction of the flipped classroom strategy.
This is a classroom. The teacher stands at the front, and the students watch and listen. You'll recognize this because it's probably how you were taught and how your parents were taught before you. But there are a lot of problems with this approach to teaching. You see, not all students learn at the same speed, so some get left behind. And while some students learn better by listening, others may learn better by doing. This means that teachers can't always do the best job they can. But there is another way. The flipped classroom addresses these problems and makes learning more personal. First, the teacher makes a video that delivers the content they'd usually teach in class. Then they share it online with students who can watch it before the next lesson. This leaves the teacher free to spend class time leading activities that help students apply the knowledge. Students can rewind and re-watch a video as many times as they like and come back to class with questions for the teacher. So keeping up with the class is no longer an issue. Students can access the video at any time using mobile devices, giving them the ability to learn more independently. Instead of sitting and listening, students can spend class time applying knowledge in more practical ways. And teachers are free to spend their time working with students and giving them individual support and attention. The flipped classroom model is already making a difference to students and teachers worldwide, so get involved. Discover more at flippedinstitute.org and become part of the movement.
Yeah, these are some research papers which I found from a faculty from my institute: impact of simulation based and hands-on teaching methodologies. It is somewhat similar to flipped activities. One more is enhancing engineering education with virtual technology, the case of industrial engineering curriculum, right? This is from Malaysia and Qatar. And one more is there on elsewhere: engineering simulation with MATLAB, improving teaching and learning effectiveness, right? So you may take a topic from any of your subjects. You can prepare the plan for its execution, right? This is almost the end from my side. Thank you very much. This is my email ID, Wasim_Qureshi at bgecg.ac.in at yahoo.co.in. And it's my great honor pleasure that I have shared my viewpoints with esteemed participants, because I am happy with a light group. I'm just discussing the things which I have been in as an experimenter, as a learner, and as a teacher. So I again open the forum, right? I keep the forum open for all to share your views, ideas, feedback, suggestions, improvements, etc.
Participants may ask questions.
Yes, Nilesh sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Your session was very interactive and nice. And as a student of IT and as a faculty of IT department, also I use this flipped not exactly flipped classroom approach, but I put my videos on YouTube and share with students. But nowadays, after this period, in this period of Corona, we felt that this shortcomings of this online approach and flipped classroom, because even same FDP, if we attend face to face, we will enjoy more than in the online mode. So, what is your view, and what what do you feel in this, whether this online approach will continue, or because I do not think that in traditional approach we used to teach, and we have found many shortcomings, but still this approach needs to be experimented, and it should not used extensively for all programs and all. So
Obviously, Nilesh sir, thank you very much. I do agree completely with you, because a traditional classroom, when a student is sitting exactly before me, I'm a teacher of communication skills, so many times I'll say that, I can read your eyes, but here I cannot see the eyes of my students. But when they are in my class, I know that this boy does not have attention to me, or that boy is thinking something else. So that pleasure is not obtained, right? So obviously there are limitations to online teaching. We provide learning material or videos, but the problem is, when we go with flipped classroom, I don't say that, and I even cannot do that for all topics. Flipped classroom is not possible, number one, and we should not follow any one method for the entire syllabus or for the course, otherwise it becomes monotonous, right? What we can do is, we are sure that if I have a lecture at 10:30 in the morning in B block, students are going to come. That is sure. And if they are going to come, I can give some videos prior to that. So the intention of flipped classroom is that when they come to my class, they must be a little bit ready. They know what they are going to know in the class, right? Otherwise, teaching is not that much interesting, obviously, in online, comparing to offline. But earlier, when we had offline classes, usually students are blank in the start of the class. But if flipped classroom experiences are given to the students, at least students will be able to know what they are going to learn. They may be ready with some questions. The problem is that they don't know what they are going to do. They don't have any questions even after the class when we ask them to raise some questions, right? Students are blank. And we, being a teacher of communication, believe that if there is no question, that means there may be a lot of questions, right? But there is no question, because students have not digested within those 30, 40, 60 minutes. So we have to give them some prior experiences, some time, so that they come with some questions in the class. This is what the intention of flipped classroom is. Yes, sir. Please, over to you, Nilesh sir.
sir, I also agree with your point, and this approach should be used with care. It means it should not be used extensively and for all
Obviously,
programs and all subjects.
definitely,
I agree with you, sir.
And moreover, I feel that this is more difficult for the teachers. Flipped classroom experiment is not easier. I mean, I just discuss not to ease our tension. We are already in government system. We have a lot of work. There are a lot of messages coming on my WhatsApp. But I feel that when you try to experiment or when you execute flipped classroom method as a teacher, we have to work very hard. It's not simple. It's not easy. This is not easy way. Yes, sir. Adil, sir.
I shared some of the files which is done under Dr. Gargi of IIT Mumbai for Flip Classroom during 2016-17. She assigned me some work for the development of QVs, which is the platform for making lesson plan for video lectures.
So everyone is requested to download the. I think it will be available. Yeah, download. Yes, it will be available in the meeting chat. Yes, sir. I got it. Also download them.
There is some roles and responsibilities to create video. I put 4 categories in this, and individuals' responsibilities were wrought.
Just a minute. I need to take a call.
Sir is on the call. He will rejoin again.
Sorry for the interruption. I'm extremely sorry. Yes, sir. So we were talking about the files that have been shared by Adil sir, and we'll study them right now. Observation or discussion or feedback or question, because I'm also a learner. So if you ask me a question, I will definitely answer in the best manner which I know. Otherwise, we'll together find out the answer. And definitely, we have a lot of limitations to flip classroom, obviously. And no method is the only method or the best method, right? Time to time, looking at the audience, looking at the requirements, we can experiment with the methods that we can call it a collective method in which we can combine more methods together. So this is how we can go with flip classroom with some topics in experimental mode, so that more engagement can be done. We are not going to repeat the same thing in the classroom which has been discussed or given earlier, right? So here there is something which we have to use it for extending the further learning in application mode, right? So now, any question, any suggestion? Kureshji sir?
Okay, I think participants have understood completely. Let us think that. And really, it was a wonderful session, sir. And I also noted a few things that over excess use of or overuse of third-party video is harmful. That really things to note. And this will encourage us to make own videos. So. And you also said your experience and your part of the your research study of your students that would be helpful for us. And really, sir, we on behalf of Government Polytechnic Palanpur, we are thankful and we are grateful to you for this wonderful session. And we will utilize all the inputs given by you, and we will have the same relationship in future. We will have some more sessions from you on ethics and other things.
Thank you very much. So with my thanks, I just leave the session. Thank you very much. And all the best for the next days.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And sir is also a motivator for this FDP. Sir has supported us. I forgot to tell that. Sir has supported in many manners, and we are also thankful to Dr. Wasim Qureshi for that. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye, sir. So dear participants, we will join at 3:30. We will discuss about PowerPoint presentation. There will be not a very huge session, but we will discuss some ideas, and I will share some of my experience with you. We will meet at 3:30. Thank you.